Hey, what's up everybody? Rob Marzullo here, Ram Studio Comics, and today's video is going to be on drawing the forearm muscles. This was actually a video request by Ivan Almighty, and so here it is, Ivan. Forearms can be tricky, so let's delve on in, and I'm going to show you a few different ways that I would try to illustrate a forearm. And the first thing and the most simplistic way is to just draw basic shapes, right? So if we do something like this, it's a series of circles with connecting lines. That's kind of a side. That's a hand, bit of a club hand, but you get the idea. That would be a side shot of a forearm. Okay, so I'll bring this over to the side, and I want to show you a couple ways of how I would refine it. So I'll just stage this over by duplicating it right here, move it over. And then I would start to overlay some muscles. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that the forearm changes shape based on the relationship of where the thumb goes. The way it was put to me one time was that, you can't turn your wrist. That people think that when your arms are moving or you rotate your hand, that your wrist is moving. It's actually not. And I don't know why, but that just seemed like it didn't make sense to me. And then I tried to, one of the ways that you could tell is grab your wrist and then try to turn your hand. You can't do it. It's actually the two bones twisting that gives you the rotation of the wrist. So I don't know why I needed that explained, but I did. And then it started to make more sense when illustrating it. Okay, so what I'm doing is just showing you how I would refine a little bit more of the musculature that I see. Now keep in mind, this isn't going to be some ultra anatomically correct illustration. I'm simply showing you how I would try to work through some of the forms and, create some forearm poses. And the thing that I want to stress the most is when you're looking at your reference, whether it be, Muscle Magazine or Gymnast Weekly or whatever it is, looking up images of gymnasts, runners, fighters, all this stuff. I think it's better than trying to study medical illustrations. And I don't know that one should, be present without the other, but what I'm getting at is that I don't think that medical illustrations help you draw the body as much as studying, the body in motion does. So that's just the way that I see it. Try whatever works for you. The other thing that I like to do is actually study other artists' work that I like and see how their stylized representation looks as well. So I think it's all that compiled together is what makes, some pretty good reference for that. Like for instance, if you just study muscle magazines, then you're going to get this entirely, too flexed perception on the muscles. If you study, just skinny people, then you're not going to have any muscle-bound hulks in your stuff. So it's got to be a little bit of variety there. One of the things I do recommend to do a lot is take your own pictures, even of yourself, even if you're not some big monster, muscle type individual. It doesn't matter. You can get a lot of information just off your own body type. So take pictures of you, your friends, your family, have fun with it, and try all these weird poses and variations because especially when you have to illustrate on a bit of a deadline or quick turnaround, you don't have time to really search for the right pose, but you can, create the right pose and then learn to detail it and add anatomy and, change things the way that you might see fit or need to. So, just so you know. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to show you a few different poses. And mainly that the directions that I see the muscles take, as the hand rotates around. I don't want to get into drawing a really detailed hand here, but I want to show you I kind of skipped a step there, or drew it all over the same one. So I'll just do a couple different poses and I'll explain a little bit of what I'm thinking as I create them. And hopefully through doing that, it'll answer some questions. Yeah, so, looking at other artists' work is, really neat because it allows you to see kind of into their perception of what they saw when they tried to recreate it and what things they exaggerated. I always look at, even comic book art, that it's a bit of a caricature, that it's a bit of a, a warped, stylized depiction of the real thing. And that's the part I enjoy the most about comics is seeing people's, perception on that particular thing. Some people, I think their perception on anatomy is really cool. Some people, I think their perception on the way they draw the eyes, for their women or whatever. All those different things are just kind of neat and fun to study about somebody else's work. And some artists, I'm just impressed with everything they put down. They're just all day amazing, I guess. It's everything they do is just fantastic. So this is just me kind of noodling around and adding a little bit of style to the sketch. And generally what I would do even before this is lay in some of the bulk of the shadows. If I want that bicep to look bigger, then I can shadow right here a bit further. It's always good to do like these little kind of shadows in the middle of the arm, and they can just kind of be spotty. Just depends on again, what kind of style you're looking for. But it allows the arm to look a little bit more, there's a little more variation in doing that. Another good thing to do is always vary your lines. Have some thick lines, have some thin ones. Nothing worse than having one weight of line and one thickness of line all through the entire design. It becomes very flat, very boring, and someone's going to look at it and look right away because there's just not a lot of areas of interest. Same thing about your line weight. Line weight's really, really important. So just kind of mix that up, get in there, and just play with it. And I get people that ask me like, how do I develop my style? Where do I get my style from? It's experimentation is the biggest thing that leads to style, in my opinion. You just have to play with all these different concepts, and not so much to where you have no basis of what's the word? Where you're basically always changing, everything to where you have no consistency is what I was looking for. Sorry. So you got to have a little bit of consistency in your work and your style, but you have to also experiment quite a bit, or you'll stagnate. You'll just kind of get to a comfort level, and then you won't develop any further. So you got to be careful of that too. So okay, that's probably enough little sketching on that one. And you see I didn't detail much up into the upper arm and the hand because I really want to, I'm trying to really focus on the forearm since that's the nature of this video. Okay, so now let's see. So we've got a little bit of the side, a little bit of the open, the wrist bent. What else? I'm trying to think of popular poses, but that's where you really just have to draw all different types to really, get a feel for it. I guess what I want to do, I'll show the side illustration one more time because I want to show you the string muscles that come from underneath and around, that wrap around the forearm. And I'm not getting into terminology because it's just, I'll slaughter it anyways. I just want to show you how I would illustrate kind of a comic book style forearm. Okay, so we'll say the hand is just like this, kind of tilted up. So just draw like a wedge shape. So here's our forearm. We'll say that the bicep is actually, that the arm is pointing this way, which I'm not going to get into drawing that a whole lot, but I want to show you the direction that it's coming. So I'm perceiving that it's coming like this, like this, like this. Okay. Tune in for my next video where I show you how to make those cool arrows. Just kidding. Okay, so now, I did it again, didn't I? Yep. Oh boy. Let's select this. Command X, Command V. All right. Okay, so now I've got that on a separate layer like I wanted. I'll soft erase that down just a bit. Okay, so that's how I would see the shape of the forearm and its basic rudimentary kind of design. Something like that. The fingers could go wherever. Fingers, I just use these oval shapes, overlapping ovals, and it actually works pretty good. And you can also use circles like this to, anything you got to do to get the basic form. There's no right or wrong way to sketch, but obviously that's not what this is about. So, all right, so let me take that now and scale it down. Let's duplicate it. And let's get in here and show you what I wanted to show you. All right, so I'll soft erase this down again. Okay, so from this angle, I kind of picture, I always kind of draw the shape first. This could be called rope drawing. Rope drawing is just where you kind of go from line to line, knowing where the musculature is, starting with probably the most predominant outlining or shapes that you're most confident with. Would make the most sense, I guess. Alright, something like that, whatever. Not on hands, but I feel the need to throw a little bit in there. Okay, so I'll even show you how I would think the muscle would interact. Now, the way I look at it is the things that are closest, I would probably detail those the most predominantly. So the lines would go in front like that. This is a little bit of the hint of the elbow right there. Now this other muscle, and again, forgive me for not knowing the names here, would do something like this. And these little strands or strings or striations, whatever they are, they swing around like this. Okay? And I believe there's 4 of them. And they also tuck under this muscle, and a couple go under themselves. The main thing to keep in mind with these is that you're not going to draw all 4 of them. It would just look ridiculous. It would also look like, again, a bodybuilder is trying to flex and trying to showcase that muscle. So you just draw a couple of them. And then the way that you would shade them is just, again, like that they're kind of overlapping each other. And then to show more mass on this muscle, which is obviously larger, you would just do a bigger shape of shadow, something like this. Or, whatever, based on your light source, your sheen of the material. And then you would just shade that out, do whatever cross-hatching or line work you like to do. Then there's like I want to say it's the bone, and I want to say there's like a little protrusion or hint of the bone right there. The elbow, if you just leave this line like that, it looks flat, so you can maybe do some shading like this. And you get like a hint of the elbow or the bone to the back here that connects to the back of the wrist area. So something like that can be done. The tricep, goes like this, and it almost connects behind here. And that's where studying your anatomy will just allow you to kind of construct this stuff. So it's not important that you know every name, every muscle group, every, every tendon, every bone. I mean, I'm not going to say it hurts. It's always good to study. But it's mainly, picking apart the shapes and the shadows and the texturing that stands out to you, and coming up with your own representation of that you're satisfied with. All right, let me pan back and make sure that looks somewhat realistic. Yeah, and it's almost there. I mean, it's not perfect, rarely, it never is, but it does get the idea across as far as, what I was trying to show. The only thing, there's a bit of a confusion here from this line to this elbow. It almost made it look like this is one big lumpy elbow or something. So you want to watch out for that. That's really not the intention of that. In fact, I want to say this needs to be tucked up closer to here. I believe so. Maybe in a slight rotate. So yeah, so I wanted to show the shadow off this, the larger shadow there, a couple little breakup lines through there, and you just keep refining it until you get, the kind of look you're going for. But that's pretty close. All right, so now let's see if there's anything else that would be, I guess, the inside of the forearm and flexed. No. Yeah, let's do that. So let's take the inside of the arm and do, there's another shape that I always see when I'm doing forearms. It'll be something like, first I'll illustrate the basic shape again. So the forearm's coming out to the viewer. There's our little circles to give us the idea. Here's our rope drawing around it. And I did it again. Command X, Command V to put it on its own layer, which I seem to just be forgetting every time. Okay, so it's going to be kind of this pose up here, but the palm will be open this way, like this. And keep in mind, I'm actually, creating these poses. I study, shots before I do any of these videos, but then I create my own so that, I don't want to just stare at a picture and draw it, because that doesn't teach you how to break down the process. So I end up, constructing my own, because that's what I would have to do, majority of the time for comics or storyboards. So that's what I want to show you. Okay, so there's our basic shape. Well, I took it a little bit further, but you get the idea. That's the basic shape. The palm's open and down. The forearm's kind of pointing out towards us a bit. I think I should have made the palm a bit higher to show that. Okay, so now I'll duplicate that. Move that over. Soft erase it down. And let me zoom in a bit. Okay, so now I always see the wrist as being a little bit larger, more defined. So you got the bones of the wrist that come through like that. From this angle, I would almost picture that the muscles kind of come in and converge like this. Okay, and the shape that I wanted to point out is this. I always see this kind of funky M right there, right? And the reason why I want to point that out, if you start seeing shapes like that, you can in turn draw foreshortening a little bit better, a lot better actually. So I just want to point that out, that if you are trying to bring this, say you wanted to bring the hand up even further this way, that's when this shape right here would become more defined, to the point where it actually segments in front of and blocks off the bicep. And then once the arm got up so far, you wouldn't see it anymore. You'd start seeing the hand block it, and then you'd start seeing the bottom of the arm. So it's good to picture things like that, because it'll allow you to draw this stuff more quickly and start recognizing shapes, So like right here, I'm just picturing what I've seen a bunch of times and just drawing it in. Maybe it's not perfect. I tend to always like draw these muscles evenly side to side, and they're not. I want to say this one is a longer or elongated kind of muscle like that. This one's shorter and stubbier, or whatever word is there. Shorter and stubbier. So just keep that in mind, that they're not even Steven. Like, it's the same thing with legs. You'll always see a bad leg drawing, and it's because they go like that. That's not how legs are. So you got to always remember that this one down here is, way shorter and tucked in. This one goes up the leg like that more, so you just start figuring that out, and you can construct your legs faster. Which, sorry, I digress, because obviously this isn't a video about legs, but I was trying to make a point. All right, so there's that. Fill in some of the hand here. And then, the bicep actually kind of, I don't know if this is a tendon or what, but it pokes into here, and then it circles out from there really kind of quickly. So it does something like that. And I want to say this one has a little muscle that curls around like that. But, that's where you just study your anatomy more and more, and you'll start to get that. And then the thing I would actually do, even at this stage, I would start to soft erase it again. I don't like having it too traced out, like I've mentioned before. So I would just kind of refine that a bit more. And the big problem I see with this one is proportions. That's actually one of my tougher things to get right. I find myself wanting to study proportions more and more and more, because I struggle in that area. So, and I blame that on comics. I do. I really do. It's not my fault. It's because I like comics, and everything's distorted, and it warped my ability to draw proportions. So, damn you, comics. I'm kidding. I love comics. It's not their fault. It's mine. All right, so that's somewhere in the neighborhood of what I would do. And obviously you got veins. Yeah, we can't forget that, right? So veins, you would just do something like this. Oh, that's not right. Hold on. That's not right. You add a little bit more shadow to one side. Always make the shadow a little bit uneven. And make sure to kind of omit parts of the top line. Something that always makes veins look cool. And just, again, just play around with them. When they go over a muscle, make sure to do like a little bit of a added shadow right there. And just add some veins. It's fun. It's good times. Yeah, so that's how I would do it. I don't know if that entirely answers your question. Hopefully it does. If you do have any questions on stuff like this, make sure to drop them in the comments section below. That way I can, I try to respond to every comment. I don't know if that'll always be the case, but I'll always do my best to do so. And, I'll always read them. So make sure that you drop, comments in there. Let me know what you'd like to see in the future, what exactly you have, questions about when you illustrate and you draw and things like that. And, if you want to support this channel and the production of the Blackstone Eternal comic, check out my Patreon page. You can find the link below. All support is welcomed and appreciated. And if you can just support the channel here, that's fine too. Just make sure to like, subscribe, and share. All that helps me get this channel further and further to where one day I can live my dream and just be an artist. Just draw pretty pictures all day long. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Either way, thanks very much for tuning in and watching. We'll talk to you soon. As always, keep drawing, keep having fun.